Well, good morning, everyone. Thomas Montgomery here. It's a beautiful Monday morning, November 21st, 2022, and we get together with you, our distribution partners, most weekday mornings at this time, 8 o'clock Central. Today is one of my favorite topics. We're going to go back and talk about, to justify, to verify, to validate how it is that you and I can go out to the marketplace and guarantee in writing any small business a minimum of $100,000 to start or grow. It should be you should find this in an editable format in your white label partner Dropbox. If you don't see it, let us know and we can get it to you, but it should be there. But this is a great talking point to clients to explain what it is that we're going to do, especially those that don't quite understand, that think, oh, maybe this is too good to be true. Of course, it's not. This is, in fact, how we would explain to regulators, whether it be the FTC, attorney generals, anyone that would ever come to us and ask, well, how do you guys back up this claim that you make? This is it. And this is what makes what you and I do 100% legal, compliant, and effective. So let's spend a few minutes going through this. And again, you should have an editable copy of this in your white label partner Dropbox. So title, how can we guarantee access to 100,000? Pause there. What you and I know is a lot of small businesses want more than 100,000. I was just talking to a new client this morning, and he wants 250,000. That is fine. So if the client wants more than 100,000, that doesn't mean that they can't enroll with you and that we can't help them. And if you want to change your agreement to guarantee more than the 100,000, you can do that. But the bottom line is, what we know is that we can help any small business, whether they're pre-launch or existing, get at least 100,000. But if the client's looking for more, that's okay. We can set that goal at a higher level and work with them to their goal. There are three main variables of what we do. What you and I do as technical advisors. We help build credibility, we improve financial literacy, and we do the loan packaging. Let's talk about each of those. And again, the conversation I'm having with you is a transparent one between you and I as contractual partners. You can take part of this or all of this as you're sharing it with others, but this is not meant to be scripting that you would necessarily share with others. So in terms of financial literacy, the top right-hand ball here, we've talked about this before. What I know is that what I realize is that most small business owners don't give a hoot about financial literacy. Either they don't know what they don't know, or they're just wanting to get right to funding. So learning and becoming knowledgeable is not a priority of theirs. Now, what you and I know, the reality is a lot of people don't know what you and I know, that knowledge is power, that they'll be a better client. They'll understand the why we're doing these things that we're doing if they participate in the financial literacy, but they're not required to. So is it included? Yes. Will we have clients that are probably more satisfied and more engaged if they do? I think so. But no one is going to force them to go through the financial literacy. With that being said, we have an award-winning curriculum. I don't think anyone could look at and refute the value, the credibility of our curriculum, broken into 4 modules. Historically, we did 1 module a week over 4 weeks. And then recently, as you may know, we have offered a consolidated approach so we can essentially do a module a day and get through it over 4 days. There's a lot included, participant guides and instructor guides and PowerPoints. But if we were to just quickly label what the 4 modules are about, the first is on business planning, the second on building credit with emphasis on business credit, third, financial reporting, fourth is banking and money and pulling it together. So how is it that you and I can go out and guarantee any small business 100,000? There's 3 parts to the model. that results in the guaranteed capital raise. The first one is financial literacy. Who has questions, comments, concerns on the first component, financial literacy? Each of you that are a white label partner have been provided that. You have the participant guides, the instructor guides, the PowerPoints. You have access to all of that. That was provided to you essentially day one meaning once you signed up as a white label partner, that was provided to you in your onboarding email. If you don't know how to access it or you lost that, you need it resent to you, fine. Our support information is down here and we can resend you the onboarding email, but you've been provided this. Now, with our implementation, frankly, we'll take care of this process with the clients. It's not your burden, but we do want you to have access to that. So you're familiar with what the clients are going through. You can encourage them and support them as much as you want. Does anyone have any questions on the financial literacy component of the model? Anyone have questions? Just type it into the Q&A. It's like a chat function of Zoom. Okay, so I think we're all on the same page there. We'll just work our way around clockwise. Loan packaging, the second of the three components. And I was talking to a different client this morning, and he owns a business that he just recently enrolled, and frankly, he's thinking about quitting already. He's already thinking about dropping out. And his words this morning were essentially, hey, I don't need help with this loan package. Man, I know all this. I don't need your help. And we're like, fine, that's fine. We need to gather the documents to figure out the capital raise. But for our more sophisticated clients that already have a business plan and financial projections, that's fine. That's fine. We're not going to make them redo that if it's ready for a capital raise. So we do help build that loan package, and that starts with gathering the documents that the client has and then assisting them with what they don't have. But it's very important to understand that the loan packaging component can work for a small business that has nothing in place, or like the gentleman this morning that was a little disgruntled because he didn't understand, the white label partner that brought him on didn't do a good job explaining. He's got a lot of this already, and he certainly didn't want to feel like he had to go recreate the wheel. And I explained to him, oh, no, that's fine. So building a loan package is the second of the three components. Why is it important? Well, it's important for a number of reasons. The lender, the source of capital, needs a data set to make an underwriting decision. And then we need the data set to figure out where's the right place to go after the capital. Does anyone have any questions on the financial literacy, the first component, or the second component, the loan packaging? Okay, so Timothy's asking about timeline. So we've accelerated it now on our newer and improved. I guess most businesses go through different iterations, right? So you're out there implementing, you see what works, what doesn't, and you always want to improve. So now what we're doing, the first day that a client comes aboard, the first day, we're sending them an Adobe, and it says building your loan package is the title. And we immediately provide them access to the financial literacy, which is not what we're talking about at the moment. But also we give them a list. Okay, here are the documents that it's not all or nothing, but what you do have, go ahead and gather up, let us know. We're going to provide you a Dropbox folder, and you're going to upload those documents into Dropbox, the designated Dropbox. So how long to assemble the loan package? What, 24 hours, right? Because they're going to get the building your loan package Adobe that clearly states what we're looking for. It's not all or nothing, but to upload what they do have. They let us know they're ready to upload. We provide them the Dropbox, they upload it, and then we're ready to take them to our funding committee. Our funding committee now meets twice a week, normally Wednesdays and Saturdays, Wednesday evenings, Saturday mornings. So you can see that we're evolving to move more quickly to better meet clients' expectations and preferences without sacrificing the outcome, because we have to be able to fulfill this guarantee of the 100,000. So the financial literacy used to be 4 weeks. Now they can knock it out in 4 days. technically it's on demand. They could do it in 1 day, but we'll just say 4 days, reasonably speaking. The loan packaging, normally we waited until the 4th module, banking and money, to ask them for all of this, to start putting it together, not to delay, but just to educate them first. But again, clients have spoken, we've listened, and so now they're getting access to do this day one. Day one. All right, thank you, Timothy, for that question. Anyone else have questions on financial literacy or loan packaging? And then we'll get over to the big one. All right, so Quincy has a good question, and I'm going to table it for a moment because it fits over in this third ball that we've not made it to yet. So Quincy, stand by. We're not going to ignore your question. We'll get to that in a minute. All right, Alfred's asking a question about, has this ever been challenged? Yes, it's been challenged. I got a letter right here from Rob Bonta, B-O-N-T-A. He is the Attorney General of the state of California, Department of Justice. And he sent us a letter dated September 30th, 2022, and he sought to challenge this. Now that has been almost 60 days. We promptly responded, and it's been accepted as it is. And so, yes, there will be people that are either jealous, people that are ignorant, people that are malicious, that will want to challenge, is this a legal model? It absolutely is. The Federal Trade Commission went through all of our files and came back with no recommendations for change. No cease and desist, no fines, no penalties, no changes necessary. Rob Bonta, again, the Attorney General of the state of California, challenged us on this. And we came through without any questions, any issues. So we have never been fined, sanctioned, sued. Our model is legal if we do it the way it's designed to do. Thank you for asking it, Alfred. All right, so now let's get over to the third one, which is a big one. And so I know that all 3 balls here in this figure are shown equal in size, but credibility building is incredibly important, right? Because it's too good to be true to think that we could just go out to every small business and say, hey, no matter what your credit is, no matter how long you've been in business, sign up, and we're going to teach you some stuff, and we're going to package some stuff, and you'll get all the money you could ever want. That's too good to be true, because the third variable is they have to be credible enough. What's the key to getting approved for a mortgage for you and your family? To meet the underwriting criteria of the given mortgage. Is it USDA, FHA, jumbo, what have you? What's the key to getting a car loan? Meeting the underwriting criteria of that given lender. What's the key to getting a business loan? What we're talking about now. Meeting the credibility criteria of the underwriting. So what you and I know, and again, you have to try to be humble. You all are the best of the best, right? So you know so much. The average entrepreneur doesn't know what you know. And so if you stop, and I don't want to say dumb it down, but take the time, have the care, the consideration, the love to teach them. And of course, that's part of what we're trying to do up here. But certainly what you and I know is that if you want a business loan, there are 3 variables that come into play: credit, capacity, and collateral. And it just so happens that what you and I can do is help any small business with these 3 C's if needed. Now, do you have to have all 3 C's to get a business loan? No, there's different sources of capital and they each have their own underwriting criteria. But in general, especially traditional business loans are based upon the 3 C's. So the beauty of it is you and I are able to help clients become credible enough. We can help them improve their financial literacy, and we can package their loan, and we can guarantee them a minimum of $100,000. Let's talk about the 3 C's, which gets to Quincy's question. So credit. Credit, it's important to understand there are really 2 types of credit: business credit and personal credit. Different sources of capital. Some don't use credit at all. Some only use business. Some only use personal, and some use a combination of the 2. And so part of, again, what we need to do is understand the client circumstances, what they're trying to accomplish and what their strengths are, because we want to build a capital raise plan off of their strengths, not off of their weaknesses. So we'll look, when we go through the process, the data gathering process of both of these, to see where they're at. So what you have to avoid is being a simpleton. And you're not a simpleton, but some people want just things to be so painfully simple that they will err. They'll give up accuracy in exchange for a simple answer. And the world's more complicated than that. So it's like, well, what minimum credit score do you need for funding? Well, as we've already discussed, there are many different sources of capital. Each have their own underwriting criteria. Some don't even look at credit. Some only look at business. Some look at personal. So there's not simple answers when people will just pull out of an orifice a question like that where they're looking for a universal answer, because it varies, right, based upon the type of capital. So we don't require any established business credit scores or personal credit scores to enroll in the access to capital, because credit's fluid. We can help them build if necessary. Any questions on credit? We're going to go through these 3 C's briefly. Any questions on credit? Okay. Now, capacity, the second of the 3 C's, and capacity sometimes is referred to as cash flow. So why would a lender, well, let's rewind back before we get to capacity. Let's do a quick assessment of, well, why would a lender care about my credit? Right? Why does credit matter? Well, that's the demonstration of either the business or the person paying bills as they promised to. I have another new client that we're working on getting funding, and she was late on her mortgage this past month, just posted on her credit report. Do you think that that impacts the credibility of that individual? And so, of course, our guidance is get with the mortgage lender and get that resolved, so it's not reporting late. It's not insurmountable. But of course, credit is a reflection of someone's credibility, because it's a measurement. If the credit is accurately reporting, are they paying as promised? And we live in a bewildering age. The one client I mentioned this morning that I talked to that wants to quit, he's like, well, I don't know if I want to go forward. And it's like, well, okay, you don't have to go forward. You're an adult, but you have a contract, right? And so we're going to do what we promised to do in the contract, and you need to do what you promised. Well, what if I want to quit? Well, that doesn't make the contract go away. I think we live in this weird age of our society that people think, oh, that contract, that doesn't really matter. I changed my mind. Well, that's a foolish approach. And so credit is, again, should be an accurate reflection. If it's not accurate, we can help fix the accuracy of how it reports. But credit is a reflection of, have we paid as agreed? In exchange, capacity is a concern of lenders because it demonstrates our ability to repay the debt. Let's use a consumer example first. Let's say you and I decided it's time to get a new car, right? We want a new vehicle here before the end of the year, Christmas present for ourselves. Well, separate from credit, what type of car, assuming that we want to finance it, what type of car do we want to buy? Because the price of the car is going to determine if we get approved for the car loan, regardless of credit, because the lender is going to want to make sure we have enough money to pay, demonstrated money, to be able to pay the car loan. So we could go buy, I think I told you, I bought a S560, nothing glamorous, but S560, $125,000. Monthly payment around $1,900 a month. So I needed to show them that I could afford that $1,900 a month car payment. Fine. But let's instead say that we wanted to get something really nice. We want to go get a Ferrari or a Bugatti or a McLaren. You know, if we're spending that much more, we're going to have to demonstrate that we have the ability to repay it. And so no different in business loans. If we want to go borrow money, the lender would really like confidence that we can afford to repay it. Now, I realize that the objection that commonly will come up is, well, wait, it's a startup company. Well, fine. So then they'll look at how does our projections look for cash flow? What other current streams of cash flow do we have in case the business stumbles out of the block? And then also, what's our documented liquidity? Because if we want to go borrow a lot of money and we have no cushion, then that is a concern of some lenders. Now, again, there's some lenders, some sources of capital that do not look at capacity at all. So it's mistaken for you to assume that we always have to have all three C's. But in general, for business loans, it's the three C's. Capacity is our ability to repay based upon cash flow, current or projected, and our documented liquidity, our ability to handle bumps in the road. All right, and then the third C is collateral, and this is where Quincy's question came in. So the third C, which not all sources of capital require collateral, but traditional business loans do. Why would a lender care about collateral? Well, that's what the borrower is pledging to say, hey, if I don't repay, this is something that you can come take. So if we get a house, the house is usually the collateral. And so there's a lien against the house. And if we don't pay the mortgage, they foreclose on the house. Don't want that to happen, but that protects the lender. Cars, there's almost always a lien against the car title. So if we don't pay the car payment, they come in the middle of the night, hook up the car and repossess it. Take it to auction usually. Business loans are a little bit different because it depends upon what we're buying. If we're buying real estate with a business loan, then the real estate can serve as collateral. If we're buying certain types of equipment, then the equipment, the hard assets could be pledged. But if we're going after a working capital loan, where we're essentially asking for a bunch of cash, then of course they can't repossess cash, right? Because it's going to probably be spent. And so in general, collateral are the assets that are pledged, if I quit clicking here, for security for loan repayment. So the beautiful thing is you and I, as partners, white label partners, we don't need to go out and screen to find, oh, who has good enough credit? We don't care what their credit is when they sign them. Oh, who has good enough capacity? We don't care what their capacity is when they sign them. Oh, who has good enough collateral? We don't care. All of these are fluid and can be manipulated, and I don't mean that negatively or illegally, but we can manipulate and improve someone's credit, capacity, and or collateral. That's the secret sauce of what you and I do. So in addition to the financial literacy, in addition to the loan packaging, you and I uniquely have the ability to help people become credible enough on one or more of the three C's. It's this in total that allows us to go out and make the guarantee that we make in writing, written guarantees. And so you'll have it, if you stay with it at all, you'll inevitably have some clients that want to quit. And if they do, they're breaching the agreement. Typically, you'll hold them responsible. But I can tell you, we've been at this a long time. We've never been sued, and we've never had one single arbitration case filed against us. You might say, well, what does that matter? All of our client agreements have an arbitration provision. So if a client doesn't feel like we've done everything, I mean everything that we promised to do in writing, then they agreed that we would get with a third-party arbitrator, which is a great system, to resolve the dispute. I'm just telling you, we have never lost an arbitration, but more than that, we've never, ever, ever, ever had one arbitration case filed against us. So our model is solid. What you and I do is credible, it's real, it's in writing, and we can do exactly what we promised to do. And the reason that we can guarantee the capital raise is because of these three variables. All right, so let's go through questions, comments, concerns you have, because hopefully this has improved your understanding of the model and how it works, and that it can withstand any scrutiny. You could have a client that doesn't believe it. This hopefully will help you describe it. Again, we've had the FTC, Rob Bonta, the Attorney General, who's a great guy from California. We've had all kinds of people, authorities and institutions come back and challenge our model. And in every case we've won. We wouldn't be in business. We wouldn't have these daily Zoom calls. We have a physical commercial building that we bought that we're in. I mean, we're not operating out of an RV in some national park, right? So this model is legal, it's effective, and it's as stated. And so now hopefully you have a better understanding, a better fluency in how to describe it. All right, so Quincy was asking way back when, and I deferred his question about the collateral. And so there's different places that collateral could come from. Click off that. But if we need, we can sign up the client into the collateral support program. And that's good for them and that's good for you. Now, that's not the focus of today's conversation. But with the collateral support program, you make $5,000. So it's not a big deal. It's not going to probably change your world much, but you make $5,000 if your client signs up for the collateral support program. So that's a nice gesture. But specifically what we're doing is we're transferring income producing assets over to the client's balance sheet, and that improves their collateral, which of course is what we're under. It also improves their liquidity. You might say, well, how does that work? That seems too good to be true. Well, with liquidity, the point is that most lenders measure liquidity as cash plus cash equivalents, and accounts receivable is commonly considered a cash equivalent. Therefore, not only have we helped the client improve their collateral by having assets on their balance sheet that they just pay pennies for the dollar on, secondly, they also have improved liquidity. And then we have a team that works with them to actually liquidate that AR. Actually, one of Quincy's clients I talked to this morning, Dwayne. And so we're working with Dwayne on liquidating. He bought 2 portfolios, not just one, 2 portfolios. He has $200,000 of receivable. So we're working with him on liquidating that. And so that can help also increase cash flow and capacity. All right, Quincy, let me know if I missed your question. All right, Paulie says that he's speaking with a lead that has a 5-year-old company that has been bootstrapping his business and paying the business taxes each year, but is definitely needing a capital raise to get more contracts with big media companies like Disney and Universal Studios. So that's great, Paulie. Let us know how we can help. But the bottom line is you want to get them under contract. You want to get them under contract with you with your access to capital. Now, this page here doesn't highlight it, but of course, what are the highlights of the access to capital from the client's perspective? Because if you speak to the client based upon what's in it for them, then you can get what's in it for you. What's the client going to want? Well, the client is going to like the fact that there's no upfront cost. We do not charge anything upfront for the access to capital program. Secondly, we guarantee them at least $100,000, which is what we've been talking about. There's no minimum credit scores. There's no minimum time in business. We accept pretty much any business as long as it's legal in nature and US based. So that's why some of you are enrolling so many darn clients, because it's not too good to be true, but it can almost seem that way because we don't filter people out. Most funding models in our country, in our society, in our economy want to screen people out, screen them out. Oh, you don't qualify for this. You don't qualify for that. We don't do that as long as it's legal what they do. No fentanyl, no human trafficking, none of that. And it's US based. They're in like Flint. You sign them up on the access to capital. They pay nothing up front, guaranteed capital raise. All right, so the next question, once liquidated, does that last C have to be addressed? Oh, okay, and that's an astute question. So let's say that any of us, we have a client and they get a collateral support program. You make your 5,000, which I know is not your goal, but you make 5,000, whether you want to or not. And so then the client has $100,000 of AR on their balance sheet. That's great. But what does any business want more than AR? We want cash, right? We want to liquidate our AR. You and I could own a lawn service and sign a contract with the bank to go cut the grass for $100 a week. And so they owe us $100 when we invoice them. But do we want that AR from the bank? No, we want to convert it into cash. So rather it be we'll call it organic AR generated from the business's own operations, or purchase collateral, like with the collateral support program, of course, the goal is to convert that AR into cash. And there's not a lender in the world that wouldn't expect that. They would want the clients to convert AR into cash. So we don't have to just leave the AR as AR. We want to do what we can to convert it into cash. So that is okay, and that doesn't invalidate the pledge. Good question, though. Yeah, some people sometimes think, oh, if I have this AR, then I need to leave the AR alone or to invalidate the collateral pledge on the loan, and that's not the case. I don't think there's a single lender in the world that would want a client to just hold on to AR and not try to turn it into cash, because cash is also an asset, right? Collateral, AR, accounts receivable, is an asset. Cash is also an asset. So we're not giving it away, we're converting it into a more liquid form. All right, well, we ran long, but what other questions do any of you have? Questions? Frankie's got a great question. Great question. So it's a little bit complicated, so I want to step back. So Frankie's asking essentially this scenario. So I'm paraphrasing. This is not exactly what Frankie typed. But so let's say you have a client that enrolls in the Access to Capital program. Great. Congratulations. That's wonderful. We help them build their financial literacy. Outstanding. We help them build their loan package. Excellent. We're reviewing their 3 C's based upon their loan package and determining, are they credible enough that we can do a capital match right now, or are they ready to go directly to funding, or do we need to address some of their credibility? It's not unusual, it's not always, but it's not unusual, as Frankie is alluding to, that as we're looking at their file, that they don't meet all 3 of the C's. So what do we do then? Well, if they meet any of the 3 C's in such a way that we can go to funding on some sort of capital, then we'll do so, because some sources only look at credit, some only look at capacity, some only look at collateral, or some combination. So that is scenario 1. If they don't meet all the criteria, then we see what they do meet and then move forward. In terms of helping it, and the core of Frankie's question was more, what do we do? Let's say that they're not as credible as they could be or should be, and we want to help them, but they lack the wherewithal to do so. So another one of Quincy's clients has about an 80% revolving utilization. So on his credit, his personal credit, his capital raise is impacted by a low credit score, not because of a bad payment history, but high revolving utilization. So then we start talking to the client about, well, what can we do to pay down your revolving utilization? There are certain loans we can go get that would move revolving debt over to installment debt. So that's one option. Another option would be to use other assets to pay down the debt. Another option would be to contact those credit cards and ask for a credit limit increase that correspondingly reduces revolving utilization. But at any point, we may just want to help the client increase capacity. And this really gets to the answer to Frankie's question. This is the magic bullet here. Because if the person has credit issues but can't resolve it because of money, then we fix their money problem. If people don't have the collateral they need, but they don't have the money to get the collateral support program, we can fix it by more capacity. That's the magic that you and I have, and magic's too strong of a word, but that's the magic bullet we have, that money fixes most problems. And if the issue is they don't have the money that's needed, then we can fix that. We can help the client increase capacity. And that's part of what we do. We call it the opportunity fund. So no one will be left behind. We'll be able to help them manipulate. When I say that, I mean that legally and ethically. We can help them manipulate their 3 C's as needed to qualify for funding. And that's the beauty of the model. All right, so again, I apologize. I talked too much and listened too little, but I did want to spend this morning with you to go through how it is that we can guarantee any small business 100,000. That's why Alfred, on the line right now, if he wants 100,000, got it. We got Andre and Ayana and Bernard and Bruce and Dawood and Doug and Francette. We have 213 of you on here. Any of you that wants 100,000, you got it. You got it. And this is the model. You have any clients or can find any prospective clients that 100,000, they got it. We guarantee it. We guarantee it. And this is the model that we use. All right. Well, thanks, everyone. Pleasure to see you. Talk to you tomorrow morning. Bye-bye.